Welcome to the Jockey Club, a podcast looking at the movie Let It Ride, one scene at a time. My name is Dan Delgado, and we're at historic Hialeah Park where one man is having the best day of his life.
I'm having a good day.
So come on in and hang out while we talk about this day and the greatest movie of all time, Let It Ride. Don't worry about that guy at the door. I've got you covered. You can even
take my seat to the Jockey Club.
Welcome back to the Jockey Club. My name is Dan Delgado. We are up to episode 13, which means we are doing the 13th scene of Let It Ride. And really, it's the 13th scene according to me. This is the scene where Trotter shares his tip with Cheeseburger and makes his second bet of the day. So, sort of a 2-for-1 there. Joining me to discuss this scene is Jordan Brady. Jordan hosts the filmmaking-focused podcast Respect the Process. Oh, and he's also directed feature films and is a hugely successful commercial filmmaker, much like Joe Pykta himself. And if you're playing along at home, this is going to be from minute 33:04 to 34:52. All right, now let's head on up to my usual table at the Jockey Club to discuss what is the Pykta effect, who voiced Sebasitan the Crab, and yes, the 13th scene of Let It Ride. So I could say when I first started putting the idea for this podcast together, which was a few months ago, and I started typing out people that I thought would talk over a scene with me, who would be good, you were right there on that list.
So flattered.
You were right. And what I'm very excited to talk to you about is because, you know, you bring a perspective that nobody else that I'm going to talk to is going to bring. And that is that this movie is a Joe Pykta film. A guy who is known for a wildly successful and influential commercial career, right?
I would say top of the rock.
Okay, so that's Joe Pykta. And he has this movie. He's got one other film, Space Jam. The movie career is really bonkers. If you look at these two films, they don't really go together, but it's fine. Doesn't matter.
Right.
But you, sir, are another person with a wildly successful commercial career. And you have also directed feature films. And so you're the guy, right? So you're going to be able to look at this movie in a way that I think other people can't. And I think Pykta's commercial sensibility is really all over this film because
especially the scene that you assigned to me.
Exactly. That's exactly why I picked this one for you. I mean, I typed out, 32, 33 scenes, and next to this one, I put your name.
Oh, you're so kind. I'm trying to pull it up here, too.
So, I'm sure as you looked at it, you were probably thinking, what were your initial thoughts when you looked at it, actually, just recently, as a commercial director, as a man who respects the process?
Yes. So, first of all, thanks again for having me and choosing this scene. The use of wide lenses, wider than we see in today's commercials or mainstream movies, where the camera is waiting for a character to run up to it, I believe is in this scene. I watched it again like 30 minutes ago. Can we play it?
If you want.
Yeah. Let me play it. What exact time code do you want me to do?
Oh, okay, yeah. Actually, I do have the time codes on it. It is 33:06, and then it ends at 34:52.
Okay, so let me back up.
Okay.
I'm at, and listeners, if you want to cue it up and watch along with us.
Hey, go right ahead.
I'm sure Dan would let you. So I'm at 32:14, where Richard Dreyfuss has just, and I'm sure you've already talked about this because you must be doing this in chronological order.
Yes, you're right, I have, yes.
Okay. So he's up. This is critical right here.
Okay.
I hear you hot to trot. Hot to Trot, by the way, was another horse racing movie with Bobcat Goldthwait.
Yes, this is absolutely correct. Yes.
Okay, so
I will, and I should point out, I will not be doing a podcast breaking that film down. That's probably not going to happen.
Okay. So she says, "Who is that actress?"
That's Mary Warrenoff.
Okay, she's wonderful. She's about to say a line that is crucial to the tone of the film.
Oh, yeah,
She
absolutely.
says something to the effect of, "Some guys just don't know they're lucky."
You could be walking around lucky and not even know it. Yes.
Okay, here she comes.
Why do you like this faith healer?
How do you know that I like faith healer?
You might be walking around lucky and not even know it. You know what I mean?
Magical moment right there.
Oh, yeah. The magical
That's
moment.
the space that would lead to Space Jam. That would influence Space Jam. That moment.
That's the moment?
She's like from another world. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. She does turn into some sort of like supernatural being. And, you just kind of wonder, is this how just Dreyfus is perceiving things on this day?
Right. I didn't know if we were in Dreyfus's head.
Right. You
Okay,
don't
now
really know. There's no explanation.
This is my scene you've assigned me.
Right after.
And he's hot to trot here. Look at him walking.
He's like,
He's got a pep in his step.
he's strutting.
He's into Act 2 now.
Yeah.
Like, right. She actually started Act 2, the special world that he's in.
Oh, you think so? You think that's where you could like pinpoint that moment and kick it off? We are like 30 minutes in. Sure. I
I'm
could see
throwing
that.
it out there that
I like it.
he's won twice.
Okay. Well, no, he's won
Okay.
once. He's won once. He has the tip for the second horse. He's about to
God.
bet the second horse in this scene.
You're right. Okay. So we're teetering. It's kind of a blurred line.
Okay.
Act 1, Act 2, but it's right around there. And I would pinpoint it to her because of that magical moment.
Okay.
And there's nothing else like that prior to this in the film, correct?
Not really.
No.
He does hear those chimes on occasion, but it's not like this. Like this is just like it's as though she turns into some sort of apparition, right? It's just it's totally out there. Yes.
So that's probably if I was a great guest, I would have researched more Pitka commercials from the same era.
Oh wow.
But I'm imagining, like, for your listeners that don't understand, I'm sure you've talked about it, but Pitka is the king of the Clydesdales. Like, he's done more Budweiser Clydesdale Super Bowl spots than anybody.
Oh really? See, I didn't even know that. So
I don't know if I'm using the term magical realism correctly.
oh, there's no one judging that, so don't worry about it.
Okay, but there was kind of a little mad. That's what that was with that woman there. It was we didn't go into another world fully, but it was a bit of magic there. It was a bit of hocus pocus.
Yes.
And then cut from that scene, and Dreyfus is a little luckier. He's got a little pep in his step. He's got a little bounce in his walk.
That's true. Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah.
So I think that's a deliberate Pitka choice. Oh, everything's the director's choice, but I think he's making a point to say, look at our character now. He's feeling his oats. David Johansen,
yeah.
who for the younger people, he had a thriving career prior to this movie as Buster Poindexter.
Yes. Yes.
Have you talked about that already?
No, not really. We haven't really delved too much into Johansson specifically. I mean, we definitely talk about him, but not so much things like Buster Poindexter, which, when he would show up on SNL, and I don't know, let's just say I'm like 13. It would always perplex me. Like, who is this guy? Like, I actually thought that was his name. I thought that's who he was that character that, he was playing and singing those songs. So
imagine Buster Poindexter was, well, David Johansen had a punk rock career, and that's not my jam, but I know his history.
Right. Yeah.
He reinvented himself as this character, Buster Poindexter.
Yes.
With big pompadour hair and a suit, and it was kind of a swing jazz, which he made popular for the young people.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing that Pitka and the studio felt like this was a bit of stunt casting. It'd be like casting Little Nas X or Snoop Dogg as their best friend in a current film.
Okay. All right. I'll go with you
Right?
there. Okay. That's interesting. I like it. Yep.
And you're I think you're from your Gen X listeners that have kids, and your millennials will know his voice as Sebastian the lobster in Little Mermaid.
No, he's Sebastian?
I'm pretty sure. You can Google it.
I don't know who the voice of Sebastian is, but okay. I did not know. I had no idea if that was true. Oh, wow. Okay.
Voice of Sebastian the Crab.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Samuel E. Wright.
Okay, well, I didn't know that either. I don't even know who Samuel E. Wright is.
Wow, I said that with such conviction.
You
that
really
I thought
did,
even-
too. I know.
all these years, I believed that it was. I'm going to get to the bottom of this. Okay, anyway, let's keep going with the scene.
This is the best episode I've done so far.
Look at that music. Look at him.
Yeah, he's really just,
Yeah.
bopping along as he's walking down the...
Look, he takes the money.
Yes, here comes Cheeseburger.
Millionaire. He might as well be floating.
All right, so as that guy is giving him, as Cheeseburger is asking him who he likes in the next race, and he's bribing him with money. Do you think that the money he's giving him could be anything more than $1?
No, it's just $1.
Right, it's just $1. It's not like it's
just
$5. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It's just $1. Okay.
Okay. So now Dreyfus is up at the window.
Yes.
Let it ride.
Let it ride. That's the first time he said the title of the film in the movie.
Yeah. This is the first time where it's like
This is
is it.
And that's how I think that's the end of the gray area transition from Act 1 to Act 2.
Oh, you know what? You're right. You're dead on.
Yeah.
That's it right there. It's that moment.
It's that moment because when the waitress, was kind of otherworldly, that was like, okay, this little chunk of time, we're leaving Act 1. Something special happened. We're out of the ordinary world where he doesn't win a lot.
Right.
And she's tipped it off. Then we have that little little interlude.
Yeah.
And and when he goes, let it ride.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's in the special world of winning. Life is about to change. His confidence is brimming.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. He has this this little back and forth he has with the ticket seller where he's got his money that he keeps in the shoes, that he's hiding in the shoes. He actually puts it on the counter. I just love that detail of it's just sitting there. This is where I'm taking the money out of. Like, if you're the ticket seller, do you want to touch it? I don't think you do.
Well, later, when he wins again, the guy goes, shoe.
Yeah, that's right.
He's just given into the whole thing.
Yes. He's not a believer in this scene, not yet. He's still giving him a little bit of a hard time for betting again.
On what?
Look at this.
The win tickets.
Winning ticket.
On Faith Healer. Most guys get lucky. They bet $3 in the next race.
Just give me the $50 win tickets on the number 7 horse, please.
That's a classic Dreyfus straight line. Didn't chew up the scenery, just said it.
Yeah.
Said the line. There's so much, I call it eye acting, because his eyes say a lot. He's not making a meal out of this scene. But he's just, give me the...
Yeah.
I don't do the impressions. And look at him. Why is he upset, though? That's what I don't get about this.
Oh, the ticket seller is annoyed with...
Why is he annoyed? Because Dreyfus is a responsible gambler?
I think so. My own theory on the ticket seller, because he's annoyed with him the first time that he bets too. He kind of like gives him the high hat, right? I think it's that Dreyfus, has a reputation for being this degenerate gambler, for being a guy who's, one of these guys that float around the track who's a no good kind of guy. And so I think the ticket seller already just, maybe he doesn't know him by name, but he certainly has seen him around, and he doesn't like that type hanging around here. That's my theory on it.
And then he waits.
Oh yeah, we hear the tickets printing. This is the first time we get the extended ticket printing. It's only 14 tickets, I guess, because he's betting $700. Yeah, this whole thing that happens right here, it's
one take.
It's this long take where he's walking away, and a number of things happen at the same time, right? You've got the comment of, hey, you shrunk, right? The vibes throws that at him, and then you've got Johansson approaching him right after that. So that's all in the timing, right?
It's all in one take, no cuts. And then I'm going to back up. Ooh, I backed up too far. So he gets to look at this. So right at the end of the Steadicam.
Right.
Let's watch that again.
Okay.
Listeners, I implore you to cue it up. 3408 is where we're at.
Okay.
Okay, here comes Dreyfus. All one shot now.
Hey, Trotter, you shrunk.
You shrunk.
I got an idea that we can make a lot of money. Listen, we take the tape, we run down to the stables, we confront the trainer with the evidence. With what he made in the first race, you think he's gonna mind slipping us like $5
Normally, he'd
grand?
go along with that plan.
Yeah, you got to wonder. Maybe a week ago, that sounds like a good idea. But now
Watch the camera. Watch it. Look at a weird cut.
I'll get you for this!
I'll get you for this. A weird jump cut almost.
Yeah.
Where the camera pulls back steady cam, and then Dreyfus exits frame.
Yes.
And it's not the same frame like a true jump cut. It's a little closer to Johansson. But the camera races in, not smooth or anything. It's like almost tipsy steady cam. Wah! Some big scream.
Yes.
That'll later be replicated in Space Jam with Bugs Bunny.
Oh, are you serious? Like it's the same thing?
I made that up.
I totally bought that.
And I think this is the end of my assignment scene.
Well, just where he walks back up to the Johansson's going to get back, and now it's going to be another oneer as we walk as he yells his line, "I'll get you for this," and then he gets up and he walks back. You know, and he's going to make his own bet.
So you got to think with a studio movie, okay, a star like Richard Dreyfuss, where I don't know where he is on his trajectory, but he's one of Hollywood's stalwarts, right? He's a fabulous actor, right?
Yeah, I would say for his career, he's still on where his comeback was, right? From Post, Down and Out in Beverly Hills, and Stakeout. So he's still a little bit on that high, I would say.
So this was a coup for a commercial director, even the industry leader, the juggernaut that is Mr. Pykta. And so it's a coup for a commercial director to get this kind of movie.
I would think so. So let me share something with you that I know that Joe Pykta has said regarding this film. And I implore anybody who listens to this podcast regularly, all 10 of you, to get the Blu-ray that Imprint Films put out last year, which actually has some good material on it. It's a great disc. But there's
someone put out a Blu-ray in 2021.
In 2021, it had a commentary.
Did it come with a Blu-ray player?
It did not come with a Blu-ray player.
Okay, go ahead. So what did Pykta say?
Okay, so there's like a 10-minute audio interview with Pykta where he talks about the film, and he said that when he got the movie and he saw, I don't know, he spoke with Paramount, saw what they had, and he determined that him and his commercial crew could do more things than what Paramount could do. So he brought his entire commercial crew to work on the movie with him. And so the way he looked at it was, look, whatever you guys have, I can do it much better and much easier with me and my people.
I would agree. And the studio, which I believe is Paramount.
Yep.
They saw what did Michael Bay, what had he had shot by this time? Maybe not a movie.
No, not yet. No, Michael Bay.
Not yet.
Not till Bad Boys in 95. So it's a few years before.
So he's actually, I think it's safe to say that tapping into a commercial director, Pykta was there, and Michael Bay stood on those shoulders.
I did not. All right, this is going to sound ridiculous. Was not aware that Michael Bay was a commercial director prior.
Commercial and music videos.
Like music videos. I think I knew. I didn't know that he did commercials. I mean, it's not surprising, really.
I mean, you think about Pykta being super efficient. And bringing his commercial team, who I've actually met Joe Pykta twice.
Oh, we got to hear about it.
Yeah, but I've never been on set with him. My wife actually worked on his crew, and everyone that stayed with his crew were dutiful and obedient in a loving way. Like he ran it more military. How do you say that?
Militaristic?
Militaristic. He leads with the stick, not the carrot. And if he did lead with the carrot, he'd probably beat you with the carrot. And then Mr. Pykta, if you're listening, I enjoyed our chance meetings, and I'll tell you about Dan, and I'm a fan of the work. But you do hear stories of like he threw a basketball at someone. An actor I worked with once was in Space Jam. He said big guy said he made me cry, and he yelled at people and he fired people.
Oh wow.
My wife is on the shorter side, and she was a wardrobe assistant back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And he said something, and she just stood up to him, and he liked her from that on. It seemed to respond when people stood their ground. You'd have agency. The stories, the folklore is how, like, he told an agency creative from an ad agency to like lock himself in the porta potty or something. Get off my set. It's a buyer's market these days. You wouldn't be able to get away with that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It
Right?
does not seem like you would. No, that seems like
It's a long gone
time.
era.
Yeah.
So I met Joe Pykta. I did a film. My first film was called Dill Scallion, which is like a country music. This is Spinal Tap. That's what the late Roger Ebert called it. He loved the film, by the way. And so you would know David Koechner, Lauren Graham, Billy Burke, but stars at the, like, Henry Winkler has a cameo. Peter Berg plays a character. Robert Wagner is in a scene. Like, there's crazy cameos.
Okay.
And so I make this movie, and we're screening it around town. And I believe it was at one of the screenings on the Paramount lot. And this would have been like 99, 2000. And we're screening it, trying to sell the movie and creating these events, right?
Okay.
Which any filmmakers listening, if you eventize your film, your indie film, it's a great way to get buzz going. And buyers, let buyers come to a screening where they see it instead of sending a link where you watch at home in your robe and you get up 5 times and you're tweeting. So you make it an event, which we would do, and we would party and have drinks. And Pykta came to one of those screenings because the producer of my film, Joe Blake,
Right.
was Pytka's casting director for many of the commercials.
Okay. So just this weird coincidence.
Weird connection.
Yeah.
So Joe Blake, the casting director who produced Dill Scallion, invites Joe Pykta. Joe comes to the movie. He's towering over me afterwards. I think he's like 8'11".
That's what I keep hearing.
And he was like a teddy bear, super complimentary to myself as a writer director and to Joe. And then years later, I'm a working semi-successful commercial director, and I see him on the streets of Manhattan, somewhere around Columbus Circle, and he was just either given or nominated for like a DGA, Directors Guild of America Lifetime Achievement Award. And I just stopped him real quick and said, "Hey, Mr. Pykta, congratulations on your Lifetime Achievement Award. So great." And he was gracious and everything. So my 2 encounters, albeit brief, are nothing like the folklore that I've heard from, older ad execs that shot with him back in the day. And it kind of, Dan, leads you to that age-old question, does the end justify the means?
Oh, it is an excellent question. It feels as though in some cases it does, right? There's not an absolute answer to that question. I think it's a case-by-case scenario, right?
Yeah, even within the Pykta universe, he didn't make Dreyfus cry.
That's true.
I'm sure he was chivalrous and suave with Terry Garr.
I certainly hope so. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm imagining he was a charmer. And back to your original point about bringing his crew on, I bet his crew worked their ass off. And I'm sure there's a lot of second unit with the horse racing too.
Oh yeah, right. There has to be.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's just dealing with the star cast and telling the story.
Mm-hmm. And when it comes to this scene, what do you think of these 2 choices that he makes? Where you've got that Steadicam oneer where Dreyfus is walking away, and then we do that cut and that push in on Johansson, and now we're gonna follow him as he storms to the window to make his bet. Which at the end, when he says it's like a little tag that the horse is the name of his
Of my
cat,
cat.
right? Which just goes to show he's betting out of anger and spite, and there's no thought process really as to what his choice is. I'm just betting against Trotter's horse. That's all I'm doing. So anyway, those choices though, the Steady came out.
It's hard, some films and choices. First of all, there's no right or wrong choice.
Right.
He's the director, any director. People send me rough cuts of their commercials sometimes, Dan, because, I have commercial directing film school. You can learn about it at commercialdirectingfilmschool.com. And they'll say, hey, will you look at my rough cut? Hey, I just did this commercial before I show everybody. Can I show you? And I'm like, sure. But my opinion doesn't matter. You're the director. Right?
Okay.
You're the director. Like it's not what I think. But since you're asking and it's a podcast,
Yeah.
I don't like the dolly in or steady cam in on David Johansen.
Okay. Oh, really? Okay.
Because it seems like a weird jump cut.
It doesn't.
I would have cut to him close screaming
Okay.
and then pulled him up to the counter to make his bet. Like I love the oneer of Dreyfus.
Yeah, the one walking away. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love the tenacity and determination in Pykta to not shoot the reverse, pushing the two actors where the editor would then cut two takes together. Like the energy of the oneer is so great, and Dreyfus punctuates it by leaving frame.
Yes.
But then you're sort of diffusing that wonderfulness by that almost jump cut and sloppily going back up to a close-up of David Johansen. I would have cut to the close-up with his signature wide lens of the day.
It is a bit jarring when it cuts to that. There's no other shots that are like that in the movie, and it almost feels like a horror movie, as it extremely zooms in on his face.
It's tonally different than the visual language of the movie, and Johansen is not our hero.
For sure.
So why did the hero get that sort of treatment? It wasn't even connected. Like the waitress had a point behind the filmmaking craft. So that's just my opinion, but I didn't get chosen to direct Let It Ride.
You don't have to back away from your opinion so much. It's okay. It's been 30-something years.
But I'm trying to thread the needle.
I know.
Just so I don't come on. I mean, because I really believe it, whether we were talking about Joe Pykta or a student that failed out of NYU, I still want to respect the director's choice and say, that's what the director did. Look, I made a movie called Waking Up in Reno
Yes.
with Billy Bob Thornton, Patrick Swayze, Natasha Richardson, and
Charlize Theron.
a young Charlize, a yet-to-be superstar Charlize Theron, who was wonderful. And there were things that I did that the DP, William Fraker, was a Hollywood legendary cinematographer. And he would pull me aside and go, why are we doing this? And I would be like, yeah, I don't know, man. We're just trying shit, because I saw it in a Soderbergh film and I want to copy it. I'm just trying things to be trying things. And Billy Bob too would like, hey man, why are you doing it like this? And I would tell him, and he'd go, oh, okay, cool. And so I'm sure that as a younger filmmaker, I did things that made people go, that's a weird choice, but hey, it was my choice.
Yes. Well, I mean, listen, I honestly think that what Pykta brings to the movie is partly of what makes it a favorite of mine, right? Because the movie has a lot of zip. It moves, and it's a lot of stuff like this, which maybe not everything works, but overall, the overall Pykta effect, if we're calling it that, because I just coined that right now. That's the Pykta effect.
That could be a longer podcast.
It really could, right? The Pykta effect. So I think the Pykta effect is actually really beneficial. I think his commercial sensibility, if you will, is one of the things that makes this film feel unique.
Right. It's not traditional, like the aforementioned William Fraker, who did Rosemary's Baby, and in later years, around when I met him, he did Town and Country. A flop of a film that took, I think, 17 years to make with Warren Beatty.
Yes.
But Frager delivered that Hollywood look, that polished look.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why he was, softly forced upon me as a guerrilla filmmaker coming from a mockumentary to a Miramax movie. It was like, well, control the gorilla. Me being a gorilla. And Pykta certainly wasn't saddled with, and that's a testament to his, voice as a filmmaker and his fortitude and strong personality. I'm sure the studio was not going to fucking put any crew on him.
Mm-hmm.
They were, this is all conjecture, right? But if I take you at your word on that story, I could bring my commercial guys. That is what you get. And it doesn't feel, even in the pull that I love with Dreyfuss, it doesn't feel like a slicker Hollywood movie.
Okay, no, it doesn't. No, not like where it's an obvious slickness where it feels artificial and it's like, oh, okay. It just, I don't know. It just kind of goes. Right. I mean, I do love that there's just there's this recurring gag that other characters can tell when he's got the money in his shoes and when he doesn't, right? Oh, you look taller, you look shorter. I love that throwaway line in there. And then you've got Johansson over his shoulder right afterwards. Like, there's just something very cool about how that just, how that plays out.
You think of the vibe and the energy that you love versus, say, I'm trying to find the one with Tobey Maguire. What was that one?
With Tobey Maguire? Which movie was
he was a jockey. He was a jockey.
Oh, Seabiscuit, of course.
Seabiscuit, yeah. Seabiscuit was more like it was like a Jane Austen version of a racetrack movie.
Oh my God, absolutely. I mean, these are night and day films in all aspects, right? Yes, you're right. It is almost like a Jane Austen version of a horse racing movie. That's a good way to put it. Yeah. See, like if I'm thinking of horse racing films, the way my brain works, and I think most people probably will think of Seabiscuit first because that was a huge successful film. We're talking about something that was not a successful movie at all, but it kind of stays out of my consciousness. It's a movie that kind of, I saw it, I liked it at the time, I appreciate the work that went into it, but it doesn't stay with me. Once I leave the theater and then a week later I would... Yeah, he won, right? That's what happened in that movie. He wins the race at the end. That's how I would look at it.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why there's no Seabiscuit podcast, by the way. So that's the exact reason.
There never will be.
I don't think so.
Here's the big question.
Tell me. Ask me.
The podcast finale, are you going to get Pykta?
I don't know if I don't know that anybody could get Pykta. Does he do interviews? I'm not aware that he does.
I have tried to get him on my podcast, Respect the Process.
Okay.
It's all about commercial filmmaking.
Yes.
And I want to get him for the 500th episode. But I don't know. Everyone I've asked is like, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, yeah. I'll tell you, the bit that he does on the Blu-ray is very odd because it's an audio-only interview with him, and it's not even an interview. It's just him talking. Like, no one's asking him questions. He's just talking about Let It Ride. It's maybe 10 minutes long. And, all right, so I got signed for it, and I brought in my own commercial crew. Paramount didn't, I could see that I could do anything better than they could. It's just that for about 10 minutes. So,
gotcha. Is he happy with the movie?
I don't know. I have no idea how he feels.
Is the commentary somewhat flattering?
Somewhat.
Now, I'm going to let you and your listeners in on a secret.
Tell me. I like secrets.
When I had Werner Herzog on my podcast.
That's a good get.
Huh? I interviewed him at a bowling alley.
That's a story. That's a great story right there. Why is he in a bowling alley?
And here's how it happened. I heard, there's a famous clip where he goes, and I don't do the impressions, but it's something like, if you want to do be a filmmaker, what you have to do is read. And it's in some speech he's giving to a college in Illinois.
Okay.
And so I went down that rabbit hole and I found like a 3-minute, 4-minute piece of audio that was clean from YouTube.
Nice.
And then I just asked the questions here in my studio,
Oh my God.
just edited his answers. So I did the lead up, and I was like, well, what would Werner Herzog do? So I put some bowling alley sound effects below it. And I did an episode, kind of War of the Worlds. Like I just said, hey, I was, I had my recorder in the car. The audio is kind of weird. I ran into Werner Herzog. Here it is. And people that know me know that I was full of shit. But a lot of people are like, that is so crazy, man.
Oh my God, that's hysterical.
Because it's, it's EQ'd to sound like we're both in the same room. So push comes to shove and you don't get Pykta.
Right.
Take that Blu-ray interview.
And oh my God, that's beautiful. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Jockey Club. This episode was hosted and produced by me, Dan Delgado. Thank you to my guest, Jordan Brady. Look for Jordan's podcast, Respect the Process, wherever you got this podcast from. There will be a link to it in the show description. There's also going to be a link to his commercial directing film school in there as well. So check it out, future filmmakers. Our theme music is from Epidemic Sound, and our cover art is by Sean Labrie. If you enjoyed this episode, and I certainly hope that you did, then you can help the show out by buying me a coffee. Yes, that's really a thing, and yes, there is a link in the show description on how to do it. But if you've already rat-holed that $5 and you can't quite get to it, I understand. You can still support the show by leaving a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you may be listening to this, because maybe there's a way to leave a review. You can contact me through email. It's dan@moviemaker.com. I am on Twitter @_Dan_Delgado. Or even better, I'm on the Repod app, which is a great way to not only listen to podcasts, but to interact with podcast hosts like me. Find it in your app store, and then come on by and say hello. This has been Dan Delgado for the Jockey Club. And remember, sometimes you could be walking around lucky and not even know it.